Welcome to the D&D Fitness Radio podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Don Saladino from New York City and Derek Hansen from Vancouver, Canada. It comes back to what we're talking about here is like, do I want to fly across the country away from my family for, and again, I don't want to put a dollar value on it, but, what is this doing for me financially versus the time I could spend with my kids on the weekend or something?
It's also like, I understand wanting to throw, but I agree with you to an extent. I mean, I think at this point now, I always used to use the line throwing balls in the air. Like, you got to give yourself opportunity to get noticed and to put yourself up on a specific platform. But with that being said, like, it also gets to a point where you just start diluting yourself. Mm-hmm. And, it's just like, at what point, at this point, what, like right now, like I'm not in the ball throwing phase of my life anymore. Like I'm 42. Like I know where I need to put my focus in. I just had a meeting with Kim, my manager, and she's like, what do you want to do with these podcasts? Not D&D and not reps, which are completely different, by the way. We could talk about that offline. But like you're getting invited on stuff, and it's very flattering when you get invited on a podcast to speak. And I never want to take that for granted, and it's appreciative. But you got to pick your battles. Mm-hmm. And I can't sit here for 3 hours on a Tuesday doing podcast after podcast after podcast when that's going to eat into what my main focus is. And you going and speaking, it's almost like at this point, it's the same thing as like me, like contributing to like Men's Health. Like you appreciate when you get asked, but in the beginning when you used to say yes to everything, now you're not, because they want to turn around and they want to say, well, we've got to reach a 50 million. No, you don't. Since the magazine's been in existence, you've probably created 50 million addresses. And those addresses are a combination of like mailing subscriptions and email addresses. So that number keeps growing. It's like the gym that keeps getting members and they're like, we're up to member 2,000. I'm like, yeah, but you only have 800 active members because 1,200 of them are people over the last 15 years that have left. Does that make sense? Yep. And it's the same thing as with me. It's the same, like at a certain point, like, looking at Kobe, I mean, it's just it's terrible. It's at what point's like, all right, enough's enough, and this isn't gonna really, because right now you're in the phase of your life where you want return on the things you're investing into. Your time, you want return. When you're investing your time in a family, what you're getting in return is love, quality of time. You're building memories. That's the most valuable. When you're jumping on a plane to speak to a group of 300 people, like, what are you really getting out of that? Like, what is it in return? Is it more of a chest pounding thing where you could just say, well, I spoke there now? Like, is it really going to help you? I don't think it is.
Yeah. So I think everything is, I hate to say it, but everything is calculated, right? You're basically doing the math in your head about, okay, well, is this worthwhile use? And it does come down to time, I think, because again, you look at the Kobe Bryant example, like, 41 years, should he have had at least another 30 or 40 or whatever? And I think that becomes the most valuable commodity. And now you got to go, okay, well, how do I spend my time? Who do I give it to? What am I trying to achieve with that time? Right. So it's interesting. I mean, the biggest takeaway from that tragedy for me was, again, the family piece. It wasn't the basketball, or it wasn't like he was a legend of basketball. It was like, he was with his daughter. They're both gone. Now the rest of the family is without them. So,
right.
And then the other families on that helicopter too. Like I watched, I think it was the husband of the woman who was the basketball coach. And, basically now he has to tell his kids that she's not coming around anymore. And so, I think those are the types of things that you and I probably think about more. Like you posted a video of you with your kids on Instagram, which was kind of cool. Like, I'm like, yeah, like that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Obviously you got to provide for them, but at the same time, like, they're not looking at the bottom line. They're looking at the time that they spend with their father. So,
It's funny. I was talking to one of my most successful clients, um, who's done a lot in business. We were talking one day, and we just got on the topic of regrets. I'm like, "Do you have any regrets?" And he was like, "Yeah, when I was building my empire, I really missed those years with my children." And just recently, I was asked to do a couple of big jobs, which was like out of state and be for a lot of money, and it just I don't want to do. I didn't want to do. I just it was a big number, and I just didn't want to do them. And I remember immediately getting this level of anxiety because I felt like on one end I was like, I got to take this opportunity. And another end, I'm like, wait, I just don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to go and chase the dollar. I have no problem becoming successful in my environment, in my own realm, and doing the things that I want to do. That's great. I'm going to go after it. But, I don't want to be away from my son or daughter for 2 weeks. Like last night, we picked my daughter got home from school. I was home early. We took her up to the mall for something. I was on calls. My son got out of play practice. I'm like, you guys want to grab dinner? And they were like, yeah, let's go to Osaka. And we went to our favorite Japanese restaurant in town, and there was no one sitting in there. The place is awesome, and it's just the four of us. We were sitting there, like Mel and I had a beer, and the kids were hanging out. And it's a really corny moment. It was right after I got a manicure with my daughter, and I was posting pictures. And I think I've just been feeling like I've been feeling kind of dumpy this week. 9 people lose their life, and you hear that story, and it just you can't help to feel like complete crap. But I kind of grabbed my family. I put them in. We do these little huddles, and I'm just like, I love you guys so much. This is, you see so much death in your life, and you see so many people who are here 1 second and just are gone. It's like death doesn't pay any attention to how much money you have or how many points you scored. It's as real for that man as it is for you, and it is for me. And it's scary because you just don't know when your clock's going to be up. But all I can do is just have as much precious time with them as possible. Just like I see with you, like you're posting stuff, you're with your kids all the time. You're teaching them. Your son's a great athlete. Your daughter's a great athlete. It's like you could just see, like even when you're filming them on the field, the love you have for being there. And there's just this moment of like, yeah, you're living vicariously through them. You just want to see them happy. But they're pretty good at what they do, and it makes you feel good. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like,
certainly.
You're there enjoying it. I'm not going to tell you I don't get a thrill out of watching my kid on the field or my daughter on performing in a play or my son performing in a pro. You get this high, but that's what it's about.
Yeah, we were at the track working on sprinting and whatever, and then we were going to go lift afterwards at a facility. And then that's when we heard about the accident, right? Like somebody on their phone's like, hey, there was a helicopter crash. And we're just like, it didn't even register. It was just so odd. And that was between reps of sprints. And so it was kind of, ironic that you're out there spending time with your kids, coaching, and sometimes, and I'll ask you a bit about this too, but sometimes you're out there and you're like, well, I don't want to be that parent, like, because I'm involved in that industry. And so am I the guy that's going to go out and like, oh, let's go, we're going to the track. Right. And I try to make it fun at least, but I mean, what are your thoughts on that about like, you don't want to hammer it too much because you're fit, you're athletic, how much of that do you want your kids to experience, especially from you? Like I'll find opportunities for other people to coach my kids or people that I mentored. Okay, can you coach my kids? Like, what do you do?
I don't, I have a little bit of a rule. It's, I love my kids unconditionally every day of my life. And I'm the dad that, when I'm dropping my daughter off, I could tell she's starting to get like, our dad, their friends around. I don't want to give, I'm like that guy, or I'm like, bye honey, I love you. And I'm like, I'm being that dad. But I won't, do I ask my son to have a catch? Sure. I'll be like, hey, we haven't thrown in a while. Do you want to throw? If he's like, he always says yes. But if he says no, it's no. Or what I'll do is I'm going to the track. I'm like, guys, I'm going to go to the track. I'll see you later. And if they're like, I want to go, I'll be like, all right, come. I'm letting you guys know that we're going to be up there, and there's work I got to do for myself. It's probably going to take about 30 minutes. So if you get tired or you don't want to stop. I completely understand. But don't tell me to leave early because I'm not going in. And they get it by now. And my daughter goes up and she might run a lap or two, and then she'll just walk for the remaining, 20 minutes. as I'm running, and that's great. She got in the sun. She got outside. My son will go over and start flipping some tires if he gets bored, and he'll do it. And I'm like, all right, guys, awesome. Let's go get coffee or let's go get dessert. It becomes this activity. I don't agree with pushing your children unless they're really asking for it. I mean, I don't really. I've seen too many kids resent their fathers, and I've just seen too much negative stuff happen out of it. And if the kid has it in them and they want to take that next step, then great. That's awesome. I don't want to coach my kids. I've been asked to coach my son in baseball or in hockey, and I prefer not to be out there, just because there's a disciplinary component to all of that I don't want to be involved with. I think it's important that they hear it from another coach or another father or someone else that's got to almost put them in line. So, Donnie, we don't do that. I don't want it coming from dad all the time. I want them to love being out there. I want her to love being out there. I don't want them to start looking at this stuff as like, oh God, I got to go do this. Or my dad's a gym Nazi. Like, it's like, I don't want that. What's your problem? Your son's a beast. You just see him on the field. He's an absolute beast. How did he get there? Was that from you pushing him, or was that from him just following you?
That's just him kind of, taking it upon himself, right? Like, I think even, there was even a quote from an interview that somebody replayed on Kobe Bryant, and he was saying something along the lines of like, he wants his kids to discover like whatever a skill or on their own, because then they have that ownership rather than me telling them you should do this. It's not as strong a connection to that skill.
He had a quote that was similar to that. And I can't recite it word for word, but he said it was a note to his 17-year-old self. And he wrote that in 2016. And he discussed how, you're going to have money and being able to supply people with money or cars or, you're doing that for yourself. You're doing them an injustice. He talked about how you're better off use your connections to maybe get them on a pedestal to where they have other opportunity. Because I'm a total believer that, when an NFL player or an NBA player or an MLB player, there's disciplinary action on them. I'm almost like, all right, man, maybe a 2-strike policy, not even a 3-strike policy. Like, you gotta hold yourself to a specific level. There are other people out there just as good as you. And we forget that. There was a lot of young kids in college playing a sport that just aren't having the opportunity and aren't getting noticed. I am convinced that people who are playing professional sports are not the best people in that sport. You're trying to tell me that the 10 fastest runners in the world are potentially are the fastest runners in the world. Like, I don't buy it. I think there's maybe some dude in Kenya that doesn't realize that he's got X amount more potential, and that if he trained for 2 years, could be 3 seconds faster than another guy running the 2 mile. I don't know. Like, I don't buy that. Like, some football player in the NFL, he turns around and he beats his wife, and then he goes and he robs a liquor store. It's like, suddenly, why are we putting up with this? What is he a half a step faster than the hardest working Division I player that's not getting noticed? I don't believe any of that. I just think that a lot of times this is luck and it's opportunity. It's being around the right people and the right coaches and getting the right amount of recognition. And, we got to go a little more for heart rather than, someone's an eighth of a second faster. Does that really matter? Is that going to show up on TV? If everyone in the league, if everyone in the NFL was 1 second slower, it'd still be even ground, wouldn't it? You'd still see some pretty talented people. Would we notice that? So I think that's really what bothers me. I just think there's a glorification of a lot of these athletes out there, and some of them work really hard, and I get that. But I think we lose perspective on what's this all about. Yeah, it's a job, it's a passion, it's a love that we have for a game. But there is a specific level of integrity that we have to hold ourselves to, and that gets lost a lot.
I think there's this idea that everybody wants to control everything. Like, I'm going to take this athlete and I'm going to make them greater. I'm going to take my son and I'm going to control his future, like his outcome or his result, right? And I think it's so, like what you were saying there is pretty interesting, because I just read this article on Tyrann Mathieu. He's the safety for the Kansas City Chiefs. And um, it was basically talking about all the stuff he went through. Like he was at LSU and then he got kicked off the team because of marijuana use, and obviously talented, but then it went back into his childhood and he didn't have a father, and had a lot of tragedy, and didn't have a lot. I guess he felt like he didn't have this connection with his mom even. And so everything he did was about trying to get her attention, like be better at football, be better at track, just be good to get that attention. So that was like this unintended consequence of not having support. Like it's so I think of that, like, so if I support my kids too much, is that going to take away that fight and that determination and that grit? And so what do you think?
It does. But I think it does. I think supporting him in the sense of giving them love, and I think supporting them in the sense of, like, when they fall, helping them pick back up, I think that's part of being a parent. But I think turning around and washing their back every 5 seconds. I've had people come up to me and they've told me the worst thing that they could have done for their kids is establish trust funds for them, because they've lost that fight and they've lost that. They've gone to me and they've said, if I was to do it over again, I would remove that. These are people with a lot of money, and I get it. I mean, there is a lot of people out there going to go, cry me a river. I don't want to lose that fight. I think that would be, God, that would be like a sickness. Like if I woke up every day and I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't, like, part of all this is figuring it out. Part of all this is that struggle and that grind. It sucks when you lose. It really does. When I say when you lose, I mean like when you have a bad month at work, when you struggle to pay your bills, when you're worried about next month. That is a shitty feeling. But it's an even better feeling when you can figure it out. I have a great, great story. I mean, I can't mention the guy's name, but this guy I know ran some sort of an online business, and he was in a huge deficit. Huge for him years ago. It was going into, I think, December, and he was about to hit I think it was about a $500,000 deficit. So he had to come up with, he had like payroll, he had like employees, and he literally told me he walked around the city during that weekend and had to figure out, how am I going to make up for this deficit? And, through his online business, he was able to offer some type of offering, this special. And, that Monday morning, literally sat there on his phone and started scrolling down and just saw receipts. And he recouped, I think, 40 grand in the first hour off of this new promotion that he ran. And in that week, he made back, I think, 600 grand. So he was able to not only cover that deficit, but he was able, through all payments, payouts, he was able to give himself like a $10,000 bonus for the year. So a week earlier, he's sitting there thinking about, what am I going to do? Oh my God, $500,000 deficit is enormous. How am I going to do this? To being able to cut himself a bonus a week later. I mean, to me, that's extraordinary. When your back's against the wall and you really got to think and figure things out, it's amazing the creativity you can receive. And as much as he didn't want to be in that situation in that moment, man, that's a good story afterwards. And man, what a rush. He said he went in the shower at his house, he started crying because it was so stressful, and he was so grateful and so happy. And as sick as this sounds, but some people will never be able to experience what it's like to be like, you're very successful. In my mind, looking at you, you're very successful at what you do. To have that type of success and the ability to go up and speak to people, or be able to have an athlete look at you and entrust in you, or working with a professional team and you have athletes sitting there watching you because they know you're a solution for them, that's a great feeling to be able to be in that position. You love teaching. I love teaching. I love when I can get in front of someone and I can help improve them. And I think this guy's whole point, the point of my rant, was his children may not have that, or they don't have that. And not having that, I think that sucks. You want to have that. You want to be able to accomplish things in life. And
do you think that having like some self-doubt and insecurity helps to drive
I think
what
so.
you do? Yeah.
I don't get it. I mean, I heard people like, I never doubted myself. I've doubted myself plenty of times.
Every day.
I mean, for weeks at a clip, years at a clip, we'll turn around and there are days I believe in what I'm doing, and there are other days going, oh my God, is this going to work out? Am I making the right decision? If this goes down, wow, this defines me. How am I going to be able to, go on? What am I going to figure out? I mean, I think what's really helped out is this past year or so. Um, there's a specific book I've been reading of daily passages, and it just, am I a religious person? Yes, I'm a religious person. I read these passages every Sunday. That's not saying I don't screw up plenty of times, but I try and improve, and I read these passages, and the thing it talks most about is just trust. And I think at the end of the day, whoever you believe in, you gotta trust that it's going to be okay. You gotta trust that, sitting there and worrying about something that's, hypothetical. It's always possible, but putting these situations in your mind is the worst thing to do. And that you just got to trust that if you keep your head down and you keep working, that you're going to figure it out. And that's helped me out drastically, because then I find I'm not sitting there and I'm not dwelling over, what's the word I'm looking? Uncertainty. I think the word's uncertainty, which we all have a lot of.
Yeah, it was interesting. I guess it was this week that Eli Manning retired, right? So
Yeah.
I saw there. Did you see that one tweet? It was Tom Brady saying basically, I'm happy for you, but I'm still, I'm not happy that you won 2 Super Bowls, because it was against him, right? And I think everybody laughed at that, but I'm thinking Tom Brady's it still burns him that he lost those 2 Super Bowls. Don't you think? Like that's maybe something that drives him.
100%. It's got to. I mean, but this is what people don't understand out there. They're like, oh, it's Tom Brady, and he's worth $100 million, and he's married to one of the most beautiful supermodels ever, and he's got beautiful children and business, and he's one of the most successful quarterbacks ever. And they look at him and they're like, well, you don't have a problem. Like, no, the guy's got drive. The guy wants to continue. Why don't you just quit? It was last year. You won your Super Bowl. Quit. Just quit. Move on. He doesn't want to quit. This is part of what defines him. I've never heard of an athlete that walks away from a sport and they're just like, I'm fine with it. Like almost everyone I've ever either spoken to or I've heard stories about, there is a transitional period that is very difficult for them. And I can understand that. If you took my profession away from me now and you put $100 million on my lap and you were like, here, go, like the money would be nice. But I mean, I'd start waking up after a month saying, holy shit, like, all right, what now? like that was a part of my life for 21 years. I've trained between 30 to 40,000 sessions in that period of time. I figured out, and I've building my business from a fitness and wellness standpoint. And there are things that I love to do, and there are things I don't like to do, but there's things I love to do here. And if you were to remove that from me, that's part of what defines us. Like imagine someone turning you tomorrow saying like, Derek, you can't work with a runner ever again. Like you can't go out, you can't run, you can't be a part of this, you can't. No, you want to be okay with that. This is still something that you love to do. I know it is, but when people say that, it annoys me because they're like, oh, I was on Wall Street and I made just $100 million in 1 year. I'd leave and be gone. No, you wouldn't. That's not why you made that type of money. You made that type of money because you're a driven person and you want more. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that's going back. I mean, that they were talking about that, like Kobe Bryant's last game, and they're kind of joking, like, oh, he scored 60 points, and he was trying to get, even in the last 20 seconds, he was trying to get more points, and a lot of people are like, oh, what's going on there? And I think you're right. That's how he wanted to finish, and he didn't want to turn it off until it was done.
Could he have kept playing? Sure. But he decided he didn't want it. You got to respect that. But
yeah, and he channeled it into something else, right? Working with his kids, which I think is pretty cool.
I think it's awesome. But you spend a lot of time with your children, right?
Oh, yeah. Like this week, I think there's, out of my 2 older kids, I've got 4 basketball games for one kid this week, and then another, I think 2 for my daughter. And so initially you're like, oh, shit. Okay, so I got to get them here, and then this one, and then the weather sucks. And then after a while, you're kind of like, okay, well, I get a car ride with my kid. We get to talk a bit. We get to watch the game. Did they win, lose, whatever. But I think at the end of the week, you're going to be like, wow, there were some good things that happened there, and there was some time, and is it? And I even go to their practices sometimes too and help out. So I don't know. It's definitely, it's just what I do now. So And I'm trying to create a situation similar to you, is that you try to create a situation in your professional life so that you have time for these other things. Like, it's not like, I'm chasing a number of like, I got to make this much money. It's like, well, I did that, so now I can spend time with the kids.
Right.
And I think that's probably a bigger win than, any other business success, right?
Yeah. I think for me, it's just finding that balance, because I'm driven on being successful with my business, and there's a lot of still dreams and hopes that I have doing what I'm doing here, and I just think that it becomes a balancing game. How do I balance that out with being there at my son's play or my daughter's play or my son's game? And last night, you have a couple hours, you're like, let's go grab dinner. It's is a parent looking at that as, oh, well, dinner's expensive? Or are they looking at that as, we just had an hour where we were at a table laughing together, and those are memories that we're building? And I just think there's certain expenses that you got to cough up and just say, that's part of this. This is like part of the common charge of being a good parent. And, you got vacation time coming up, and it's sometimes not always the best time, and it could be a little stressful with finances or whatever someone might have on their plate. But, getting on those ski slopes with those kids, that's invaluable. Those are times that you're gonna cherish forever.
Well, the cool thing about that was that you were spontaneous too. Like, it's so easy to get stuck in the schedule. Like, we're gonna eat now, we're gonna do this, we got practice, we got school, but yeah, just saying like, hey, what the hell, let's go.
Right. Or like just lightening up a little bit on my end. Like, I know how my diet is, and you're never eating as well when you go out, or you're not preparing it. Seriously, I used to in the past. I'd be like, oh, I can't eat out tonight. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, dude, like, grow up, man. Like, lighten up. Like, it's gonna be okay. Ooh, I had some sushi rolls last night. I had a beer. Like, great, it was delicious. Like, I'm learning to do that a little bit more now, and I'm just finding that. And I woke up this morning, like, man, I slept like a baby last night. And I think it was because of that, and it was because I got home and the four of us got into bed with the dogs, and we started watching. My son's big into baseball. We were watching the movie 8 Men Out.
Remember that? Okay. Yep.
And he was like so confused in the beginning. He's like, wait a second. Are they the Black Sox or are they the White Sox? He's like, wait a second. Do they get in trouble? Wait a second. Like, and he just started asking these questions. It was processing. And, that was fun. And I didn't look at my phone. I didn't wear my wearable. I was out, and I woke up and I was like, whoa, like, where the hell am I? I didn't even know what day it was.
Yeah.
But, we don't do enough of that. That's my goal. I gotta do more of that.
Yeah. It was, that's what I'll try to be as spontaneous as possible. And I think one of the things we did in the summer, or in the off season, the June, I think it was June. So I was going to go work with the Chiefs and just teach them some stuff again. The staff just do kind of a top up of like, okay. And so I took my son, and he did all the demos. And so now he has this experience of, being involved with the team, and he did all the demos because he has like so much energy, right? So he could do rep after rep after rep. And at the end of it, I said, oh, that was great. You have a stake in the team now. It'd be nice if they win the Super Bowl. I was kind of joking back then, right? Because how hard it is to get there, right? So now they're in the Super Bowl. So I'm like, oh, they made it to the Super Bowl. That's on you, right? If they win, even better. But that was.
This got to be exciting for you guys. I know you guys are attached to the Chiefs. You guys you also work with them.
I think, again, you just kind of enjoy the moment and the fact that they're in it, and how it is. Anything can happen on the day. So will we be disappointed if they don't win? Yeah, sure. But I think, again, it's so hard to I don't know. Like, are you a big sports fan? Like, do you have a team that you pull for? And
Mets. I'm a New York fan. Yeah, I'm a New York Met fan. One. Number two is like I'm a New York Islander fan. So I'd say Mets and Islanders are like Mets, like my whole family, my daughter, my wife, my son. We're like together. We're all Met fans.
Okay.
And we've gone to probably well over 30 games together. And it's just it's a great moment. At any point, I could turn to my kids and go, want to go to Citi Field? They're like, we're in. They love Islander games also. We just go to less hockey games. but we love watching hockey together. Football's fun. I mean, I love football. I love playoff time. It's just I don't have that same connection with my family. My kids haven't. Have they been to a professional football game yet? I don't think they've been to a professional football game yet. A lot of hockey, a lot of baseball.
Okay, you should. I should try to connect you with the kid who plays for the Islanders, Barzell.
Oh yeah, do you know him?
Yeah, I did some work with him here, and my friend who owns a PT clinic was his PT for like 6-7 years.
Oh,
So
that's sick. I wonder if he lives in New York City. I'd hook him up down here too if he needed.
yeah. So I'll try to make that connection for you.
That'd be great. I'll take care of him. It'd be great to have him in here.
Yeah.
He won this speed contest, which is amazing.
Yeah, which is funny.
He's such a good skater, by the way.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about him, and I think they were just saying like his ability, like the edge control and all that. It's not just about straight line speed. He's very good, very skilled with his skates and how he positions himself. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, it's I think it's nice to be attached to a team and kind of have the highs and lows and all that, and but at the same time, I think it's good that my kids also take from that, like, well, I got my own sort of athletic career, and
right,
we're not going to be so devastated. Right?
Why was it Kansas City for you guys?
Because I had spoke at the NFL Combine like 5 years ago, just over 5 years ago, and then the strength coach Barry Rubin approached me and said, "We'd like you to be involved and help us with the speed."
That's
side.
awesome.
So yeah, so that was it 5 years ago. And then every year we've done more and more, and then my son, I took my father to a game at Arrowhead, and then I took my two older kids to a game at Arrowhead too. And it's just taking them and them seeing like the tailgate and all those sort of things. It's kind of a unique experience. It's not we've been to other NFL games and it's just a different environment there, so it's kind of cool. Like I haven't actually spent a lot of time. We went and did like a barbecue thing. We went to a place called Q39. If you go to Kansas City, go to Q39. And like I ate so much chicken wings, ribs, whatever what are they called? Burnt ends. Like I was in a coma. I was in a meat coma.
Yeah, no, that's painful. It's painful.
But it was awesome. And then I was in a fetal position all night. I don't know what my sleep rating was, but it probably wasn't good.
Do you drink beer?
A little bit. Like I'm not a big alcohol guy, but once in a while, yeah. So
no, I enjoy beer. I enjoy like good beer, like craft beers. Like last night I had a Sapporo last night. Like I don't like Super Bowl.
I actually like Sapporo.
I love Sapporo.
I went to Japan a couple of years ago and to work with speed skating, and so the great thing about Japan is that they're very reserved and very professional. And then at night, it's crazy. Like, okay. And so they just kept bringing me like these Sapporos, like big bottles of it. And I'm like, this is great. And I had great Japanese food, but that's the one thing I remember was that beer.
Yeah. It's turned into like one of my favorite mainstream beers.
Yeah.
When I go to Vermont, and I'm not a big drinker either, but it's one of those things where like Super Bowl, I'll have a few beers. Last night I had a beer, which is like, it's abnormal during the week. Or
at the Japanese place.
Yeah, because we're having a moment. My wife and I get like there's like these big 30-something ounces, and we split one together.
Yeah.
It's just fun, man. It really is. It's a good time. But me and you, when I come see you, man, we'll go drink some Sapporo.
Yeah, you gotta come. I gotta get you out to Vancouver to do something. And great Japanese restaurants, great Chinese restaurants.
Well, listen, I want to come out. We got to figure out a place. Maybe it's even like Toronto. Like I'll come. Like we got to shoot some stuff. Like we have to get some new pics and videos for social when we're putting this stuff up, and we should try and shoot some content together. I think that's a must. Like we should go shoot some stuff, like me on the track with you. And go through some of the stuff. We should figure that out.
Definitely going to be in Toronto in July, so I'll send you those dates, like on two occasions.
I can meet you then.
Yeah. So that would be pretty cool, and it's easy enough for you to get there. So
let's figure it out.
And my buddy can get you a great deal at the Four Seasons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he stayed there. He works with a soccer team. His name's Giuseppe, and he stayed there in the last 5 years. He stayed there 1,200 nights. So he's like some special person. He's got a special card, Four Seasons card. It's like metal. And he's like, yeah, come stay at the Four Seasons. I can get you like the best deal ever. So
Tell him I'll take it.
yeah.
The Four Seasons downtown, right?
Yeah. It's a good
Yeah,
Yorkville.
I've been there. It's nice.
Yeah.
That's right by the stadium, right?
It's a little north of there, but it's like a whatever 10-minute, 5-minute Uber or something like that.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah. So.
All right.
So yeah, we'll make plans.
All right. Well, I hope I see you before that, but we have to figure it out.
Yeah. I'll be out to see you. I'm hoping to get back to New York at least this summer. So I'll figure that out with you as well.
You're always welcome to come stay with me also.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can bring the wife out or.
Like I said, you and the wife, but you're both welcome to come. I'm an hour outside the city, but you can hop on a train and shoot in. But you're always more than welcome to come stay with us.
Okay.
But let us know.